a few years ago, this was actually going back before COVID. I was in California for a live communications training. And it was with a consultant I've worked with for years, Sarano Kelley and his wife, Brooke. And there may be 50 advisors in the room, all seasoned professionals from all over the US, kind of group that prided itself on being articulate, confident, quick on their feet, some very successful people. And one of the exercises, so this was called a face-to-face communications training. And one of the exercises that we went through has stuck with me over the years. So Serrano had us all get up at the beginning, find somebody that we didn't know, and have a short conversation about each other. 5 minutes. That's it. And there was only one rule because some of us knew each other. So when we introduced ourselves to them, we couldn't use our first name. We had to use our middle name. And then anything else you want to talk about within that 5 minutes was fine. We talked about where we're from, how long we've been in the business, the usual kind of getting to know you types of things. Nothing about it felt particularly profound at the time. At the time, 5 minutes up, ding, brings us all back. We all sit back down. Serrano starts asking some questions about, hey, who wants to offer where their partner was from, or what they, what they specialize in their practice, and a lot of the, conversations started to heat up. Same thing. Then he asked all those same people to give us, hey, what was your partner's name in terms of their middle name? And overwhelmingly so, the vast majority of the folks could not remember the person's middle name or the name they gave them. And Serrano let us sit in silence for a minute. And, his comment back to us, like, see, you were hearing them, but you weren't listening to them. And it was sort of a really punched in the chest kind of moment, right? Because he was right. We were all trained and communicators, but most of us were just waiting for our turn to speak. We were trying to make an impression on the other person. We were focused on being perhaps interesting and maybe not so interested. And that moment stuck with me for till now, because it's exactly what can happen in a discovery meeting when we show up with an agenda instead of curiosity, when we think about what we're going to be saying next instead of paying attention to what's actually being said. And the longer I've done this, the more I've realized that almost everyone who walks into a discovery meeting is carrying around their own fully formed system of misinformation or misconceptions, right? When we meet with prospective clients, there's a reason why they're meeting with us, right? And they're not such small ones either. They're lifelong beliefs built over decades of media noise, bad experiences, maybe even cocktail party wisdom, well-meaning, but financially clueless friends giving them advice. So one of the things that I've understood about that over the years is we cannot unpack that suitcase for them. Meaning we can have all the education in the world as advisors, superior data, logic, perfect rebuttals to anything that's thrown at us. And none of that will allow someone to turn their back on everything that they've come to believe about money during at least their adult lives. You can't reason someone out of a lifetime of misinformation. You have to help them feel their way out of it. And to do that, they have to trust you enough to open the suitcase, so to speak, in front of you. And I think that's really where the art form of discovery, a proper discovery meeting, all begins. Because it's not the knowledge that's our superpower, it's our ability to question. And question, let me be clear, not our ability to question in terms of interrogation, but our questioning, when done right, is intensely therapeutic. There's a difference there in motive, right? If the person sitting across from you can feel that your questions are designed to help them, perhaps walls can start to be broken down. But if they sense that you're asking questions in order to perhaps prove something, to a little bit more cynical, trap them or close them, they'll probably shut down, and the energy in the room can change entirely. So that's why before we even think about what to ask, we have to check our own intent. Are we trying to show someone how smart we are? Or are we genuinely curious about who this person is? What's behind their dissatisfaction? And what's driving them to be here in the first place? Why are they really here in front of us at this moment? Almost every prospect that you or I meet with is coming to us from a place of some amount of frustration, not necessarily opportunity. They're dissatisfied, for example, with some part of their financial life, or more often than not, they're coming off of a recent failed advisor relationship of some degree. And while they may say it's about returns, it's really about disconnection. They feel disorganized. They feel ashamed. They feel like they're behind, like they've made mistakes, like they should have already figured this out. That's the headspace they walk in with. So if that is met with charts or jargon or performance talk, we're talking past them and we're missing the chance to actually help them. So if I could offer a question, so how can I help you? As simple as that question sounds, it might be the single most powerful question that we could use in discovery. How is it that I might be able to help you? That's it. Not, hey, what brings you in? Or what are your goals? Or what do you do for work? Like, all fine, all have some level of importance, but not nearly as much as. So how can I help you? And most people don't want to be advised, I find, right away, right? As much as our impulse is to go in that direction, they want to be helped. They want to feel define that further, some relief from the confusion and the stress that's been following them around. They want to disentangle the knots, the disorganization, the guilt, the tension that comes with perhaps not feeling in control of their own hard-earned money. And perhaps that question gives them permission to perhaps start unpacking it. And you can feel it, right? You can feel it when it happens, that shift, perhaps maybe literally the shoulders drop. The breathing slows, the conversation stops being about accounts and starts being about life. And that's when you enter the real discovery meeting. And help, by the way, help isn't just compassionate or empathetic. It's clarifying, because help, as odd as it sounds, is a disqualifier as well. right? If someone can't clearly articulate to you that they want to be helped, if they seem like they're more focused in the first half hour of that meeting on performance or beating the market or finding the next hot thing or what so and so did, then perhaps it's our responsibility to dismiss ourselves. That's not judgment. I say that's leadership. If someone wants to invest without a plan or chase returns or beat the S&P 500 by taking very little risk, right? Then they're not necessarily looking for help. They're looking for an enabler, a fantasy. And we're not in the business of running fool's errands, right? What is it that we're really trying to accomplish? When we go into a discovery meeting, the goal isn't to persuade or convince, it's to understand. To learn that or learn what is broken, where the pain is, where it might feel or what it might feel like to help fix it. And that's why that curiosity is so incredibly powerful. Genuine curiosity takes any other kind of agenda off the table. If you can walk into a meeting with nothing to prove, no agenda about your knowledge, your expertise, what we're able to do, and everything to learn, you can start to see people a little bit more clearly. You can start to notice things that are underneath the surface, the words they skip over, the way people might hesitate, the parts they protect. And we can start getting to the truth of the matter. And perhaps that's where the trust in a relationship starts to form, when that focus, when they can feel that focus is entirely on them. And that's the discipline of attention. That phrase, by the way, I don't know if I said it in the beginning, paying attention to your own attention. That was actually the title of the exercise that Sarano shared with us back in California some now 8 or 9 years ago when he led us through that exercise. He used it to show how easily our focus can slip. Even when we think we're listening, it's the same in our work. If we're not fully present and we're thinking about, how are we going to describe what we do and how well we do it? And we're just, instead of being fully turned over to the person that we're sitting in front of, right? Like in so many ways, figuratively or literally, how we're going to transition to the next slide or when to bring up our cost or how we're going to close. We're not listening, we're performing. And the best advisors, the ones who can build lifelong relationships, are the ones that can sit in silence and let the other person find their own words. It's not easy. It takes patience, it takes confidence, and maybe it takes practice. It takes faith that beginning with helping first can get you a lot further than convincing fast. I really feel like when done right, discovery is an act of service. When we're helping someone unpack what's been weighing them down for years, without judgment, without any kind of agenda other than sincerely trying to understand how we can help. And when we do it well, there's always that moment when you can feel it click. Where someone isn't anymore worried if they were before about testing you. And they stop explaining and they start exploring. That's when we know we've crossed that sort of invisible line from prospect to human being. Because now we can help. Now the real work of untying or perhaps freeing them from all of those misconceptions can start. And that's what we're all here to do.